Shamai, I'm going to be taking a look at this today. It's from Thomann. It's a cheapest solid body bass ukulele. In fact, it's one of their cheapest bass ukuleles overall. It is the Harley Benton solid UkeBass. So I can imagine lots of you have already realised there's something not quite right with this bass just from that intro. Right, it's not my bass to start with. I've borrowed it from Derek, the other bass player in Cool Hand Ukes. He's had it a little while. And when I asked him, could I borrow it to do a review, because some of you have asked, can I compare this to my other Thomann solid body bass? He said, yeah, of course you can. I don't even play it. He's not particularly impressed by it. All right, so I'm going to go through, I will give you some other sound demos and go through the specs and features of this. This is £105 from Thomann. I think it's £10 shipping on top, all right? But it really is a very cheap bass uke or mini bass. So it is a good looking bass ukulele. It's got this lovely sunburst finish to it. So that's the front of it, and if I slowly turn it round, you can see the sunburst on the back of it as well. And I quite actually like the shape of it. All right, it's nice and light. Now that's partly due to the fact it's an Acoum body, maple neck. So if I go like that, you can see the neck on it. Let's have a little look. I would say it's a two-piece neck. There is a join to it there. A purple heartwood fretboard, so it's really dark. If I just go like that for a minute, hopefully you can see the fretboard a little bit better. Graphtec nut. The width of the nut is 45mm. It's a scale of 510 millimeters, which works out at about 20 inches. So the scale going from the nut down to the saddle. 20 frets. Something I'm going to mention straight away, they're not overly sharp, the frets, but they could be smoother, put it that way. On to the hardware. It's a piezo pickup with the actual bridge itself, again, is purple heart wood to match the fretboard. Derek has said when he first had it, he had a few issues with one of the strings being slightly quieter, so he has done that snap the method. I will show you one day, snap the method saddle to get pickups even underneath it. The tuners, black tuners, they are unbranded. I'm not 100%, they are the cheaper type, and there's an awful lot of string actually going round the tuning pegs, certainly on the A and the E. Obviously you heard right at the beginning as well, and I'll show you again in a moment. First fret it's unplayable, all right? It makes a horrible sound, mainly because it is too low to that fret, all right? So that's something I have told Derek I will have a little look at, but I want you guys to see what this is like straight from Thomann. So to go with the piezo pickup, we have got a 2 EQ setting. So the controls are volume, then we've got the middle one is going to be a treble, and the bottom one is going to be a bass. I can see Derek has put a couple of little white dots on each one of these so we can see it a little bit easier. The overall length, so in other words, from the top right the way down to the bottom, is 28.5 inches or 72.5 centimeters, and it came with Aquila Thunder Blacks, I believe. That's what's on here now, and I'm looking at the website, and that's what seems to be on them when they're sold. So the setup, I'm looking at this at the minute, and it has got an adjustable bridge on it. So it's not like my really cheap solid body Bat King. This one, I'm hoping I can adjust it a bit. The action seems to be quite high, but as I've already said, it's very low down here. It has got a truss rod at the top, you can just see the cover there. So I will be looking to see if there's anything I can do to this at all. Going back to the design for the minute, I do quite like the headstock on here with an engraved HB logo, and it does come with 2 strap buttons and side markings. So that's the actual specifications of it, but the alarm bell has to be the price. £105. I genuinely wonder how they can produce instruments that cheap. That's even cheaper than buying them from, you know, some of the distributors direct from China. But if you're going to produce cheap instruments, they've got to be playable. And I've got to say, I'm really quite disappointed with Thomann for this. They are a music shop at the end of the day. I know they're a big box music shop and they are huge. You know, they've expanded over the years. But they started off as a family-run business. So anybody buying an instrument which is basically unplayable, and I'm going to do some sound demos in a minute and you can see what I mean, I just think they're letting themselves down, all right? If you can't produce a playable instrument for the money you're asking for it, ask more money and sort out the quality control. Because at the end of the day, from a music shop, they really ought to be checking every single instrument before it leaves there. Okay, I am going through my Gensler MG350 and a barefaced 110 cab, and I'm recording directly in front of the amp. So hopefully I'm going to give you at least a half decent audio sound on it. And here, what I was doing then was trying to pluck these consistently. I don't actually notice any of them being overly loud or overly quiet. So maybe when Derek split the bridge, that has helped. But let me just show you exactly what I mean. Second fret and above, in other words higher, it sounds okay. It's not great sounding, but it sounds okay. But when you start playing the first fret, and that's the same on all the strings. Ooh, that was a nasty pop then as well. We'll come back to that in a minute. But that to me makes this instrument unplayable straight away. And I can see what's happening when I'm pressing my finger down. It's touching the first fret. Alright, which is making that horrible, horrible noise. Now, there is a chance, I've said to Derek, I can't promise I can fix it. There is a chance I'm either going to try and raise the nut or even get a new nut to put on here, but I haven't. I wanted to show you guys what this was like when I got it. So possibly raising the nut, possibly, but this I don't think is going to work, is adjusting the truss rod a little bit. Me raising it from the saddle down here shouldn't make any difference because, as I said, the action down here is absolutely fine. It's down this end the problem is. So the intonation at 12th fret is pretty good. The E is maybe a fraction sharp, but the others, they seem okay. So intonation wise, it isn't too bad. But definitely that is a big issue. All right, it's that first fret, but the trouble is, these are, you know, the important notes down this end of the bass, and if they are not working, no good. is a shame because, as I said, the rest of it isn't too bad. Okay, the actual controls. Volume-wise, I would describe it as a hot signal. In other words, it's putting a lot of signal through, which is making my bass amp sort of a little bit in the minute. So just to give you an idea, that's both EQs, the treble and the bass right down. And I just noticed then, now obviously I've borrowed this. I have been using it a fair bit, practicing in the house. But when I try the bass control knob, it's not feeling great. There's a little bit of movement there towards the end. I wouldn't want to go too far because I'd be afraid that something inside isn't quite right. So again, that's both EQs right down. Let's treble right up. That definitely works. Somebody asked me the other day, how do you get rid of that clicky sound? Can you hear the fingers? You can hear my fingers on you, if that makes sense. Ooh. There's that horrible pop again. What's causing that? Right, yeah, I can see. The closer I go to the actual saddle, in other words the pickup, it doesn't sound that. It's almost as if it's not connecting properly underneath with the piezo pickup. Okay, so treble all the way up, treble all the way down. Let's go bass down. Oh, I'm not liking that. Bass down, bass up. That is literally making my house shake. And don't get me wrong, I love bass, but not when it's pushing through that much signal. So what I would be doing, if this was mine now, and I'm not going to lie, I'm not quite glad it's not mine, I would probably have a little bit on the treble, and then I would bring the bass down a bit. And that sounds quite nice then, so you are going to have to play with the EQ on these. So I can go away from the saddle and pluck harder, and I'm not getting that horrible. But the closer I go down, again, you know, these instruments, it doesn't matter how cheap they are, if they're not playable, they are not worth it. So if you stay away from the first fret, it sounds quite nice. But again, that's not the point of it, is it? It's got to play properly. Well, I can actually find a little bit of my riff that I can play, which sounds okay. But that's not the point, is it? The whole instrument should sound okay. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time or my time on this afternoon. What I am going to do, I will have a little bit of a mess around with this. Derek has told me to have a, see what I can do to it. I'm disappointed more than anything else because, as I said, it's a gorgeous looking bass uke. Let me just unplug that for a minute. There we go. Somebody asked the other day, why do I put this through the strap? Because if you're jumping around on stage and you step on your lead, if it's through the strap, you are less likely to pull it out. Okay, so it's a good looking bass. It's cheap. Yeah, those are pros of it. It's light and it's relatively easy to play. But the big con with this, or the cons with this, first of all, is the sound at first fret. That is not good enough. Secondly, I'm not overly impressed with getting this sort of popping sound when I'm plucking anywhere close to the saddle. And as always with nearly all of these cheap basses, the tuners are not good enough. What I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to be doing it with my other Thomann bass as well, is I'm going to be taking the strings off, and I'm going to be cutting them and putting them back on again, so that hopefully I haven't got as much string around that tuning peg, because I know what's going to happen, and I can see it happening on my other Thomann at the minute, is the more I'm tuning it up, the more the string ends up over the bottom of the actual machine head, and the more likely you are to completely knacker the tuning head. And believe me, it is happening all the time on these cheap basses. I see it on Facebook and people commenting to me, and it happens too often. So manufacturers of bass ukuleles and mini basses, please, 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 maybe spend a little bit more money or get your quality control sorted on machine heads or tuning pegs for bass ukes. Right, there you are. I've had my little bit of a moan. As I said, it's just disappointing. It really, really is. I've bought from Thomann for years and years, but it's nearly always been electrical or studio equipment. You know, microphones, hardware, recording devices, and some of them are really quite expensive. There's not a lot to go wrong with those, but when you're selling musical instruments, they need to be checked and set up properly if that's what's needed. All right, so would I recommend buying this extremely cheap bass ukulele from Thomann? No, I would not. And I'm gutted for anybody who has. If you actually go and look on the Thomann site at this, the reviews are pretty dreadful. All right, they're not great for lots of Thomann instruments, but for this one particularly, a few people have mentioned a few different things. Other people have mentioned intonation. A few people have mentioned fret buzz. I don't think anybody has called it unplayable, which is what I think this is at the minute. And again, I don't think you should have to go and set up an instrument which is so bad to play just so you can make it sound half decent. Yeah, I get tweaking an instrument and maybe making it more suitable for your playing style, but not just to make it playable. So I will be having a little look at this for Derek, seeing if there's anything I can do to improve it, and I will do a comparison with this and my neck through Thomann bass uke as well. So sorry Thomann, not impressed by this Harley Benton solid body uke. It looks great, but it doesn't sound great. If you'd like to support the channel here, Ukulele Wales, and my Ukuleleans channel, I do have a Patreon page, and I'll leave a link in the description below. As always though, I do hope you've enjoyed this, or at least found it helpful. Don't buy this. If you've got any comments or questions, please feel free, leave them below. Give us a like if you've enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos. Thank you for watching.